Hello everyone, welcome back to My Michigan Farm Life. My name's Kelvin, and today it's tractor time. Let's get to it. So today we are finally going to get started in on this D17 project. You see, I went and got the sheet metal taken off, got the old exhaust out of there. The new manifold finally showed up. I ended up going with a new one. So first step is got the power washer hooked up. We're gonna power wash this whole thing off. I'm gonna get as much of the grease and grit, everything out of here as I can, and then I have some engine degreaser. I'll spray on there. We'll let that sit for a little bit, and then we'll hit it again, try and get as much of this gunk and nasty stuff off as we can. And then we're just gonna start diving into it. I gotta get the radiator and everything off so we can get to that front main seal. Manifold's gotta come off. Sediment bowl's gotta come off. So that should keep us busy for quite a while. Let's see how far we get. Well, that was the initial blast. Got quite a bit of gunk off of there. I'm having a sneaking suspicion that at least the engine of this tractor has been repainted before, by how you can see that radiator hose up there has some orange paint on it. And yeah, that's kind of how our WD-45 looks, and someone just gave that the old in-frame refresh paint job. And so I'm thinking that might be what happened here, but oh well, it'll still clean up nice. I got a can of this old engine degreaser gunk. We're gonna shoot on there, let that soak in for a couple minutes, and then we'll give it another blast, see if we can get some more junk off, and then we'll roll her back in the shop. Degreaser has been applied. Now we just let it bake for about 15 minutes, let it do its magic, and then we'll give it a rinse. Alright, we're all washed off and back in the shop here. That stuff really did a pretty good job. You can see it took all this gunk off the air breather here and got some off the valve cover. And there's still gunk down in here, but now at least we've got something to work with and everything isn't just a big sticky old mess. So I'm gonna dive into it here. I think first step I'm gonna take this off so that I can start loosening up the radiator, see what all's involved in taking this shroud off, get it drained. So I'm gonna start working on that and I will check back in when I've made a little progress. Well, it's actually a week later. Ran out of time last week when I was wrapping up, but we're gonna keep on moving along here. So this is how far I was able to get. Obviously hood's off, radiator's off, fans off, fan belt and everything. See, we got our good pile of removed parts. Manifold's off. Surprisingly, the old manifold, I was able to get all those studs to come out without any of them breaking, so that's, you know, that's always good. And kind of just kept diving in. The fuel gauge never worked, so I took that out to diagnose it and found the old cork float just laying in the bottom of the tank. So we got a new one of those and a new seal. This is the fuel gauge. Nothing wrong with it, just needs a new float on there. So that's ready to go back in. And I did learn, unfortunately, that in order to get back in here to that main seal, this pulley's got to come off. You can see there's not a lot of clearance between that and the front bolster, so the whole front end has to come off, which isn't a big deal. I think it's just these, I think there's 4 bolts, these 2 up top and then 2 down here on the bottom, but it won't be too big of a deal. We just got to brace the middle up and we can roll that away, disconnect our steering here, and then hopefully we'll be able to pull that off, get that seal replaced. And once we get to that point, I believe we'll be starting to put things back together. I'm probably going to replace this radiator hose. I was looking at it and it doesn't look the greatest. So that'll probably be before it totally goes back together, but we got a ways to go before we get that far. So I'm going to start working on getting some support set up to hold this front end up so we can get the front bolster off of there, and we'll check back in a bit. Alright, update time. The front end is off. It was really pretty easy. It's just 4 bolts, 2 on each side of the bolster, and then there's just a clamp that holds a dowel or like a big pin in that hole. That's what holds this on, and it just rolls right away. The old seal is out. We just drilled a screw into it and it popped right out. We got the new one right here ready to go back in. Just kind of trying to get all this gunk and stuff cleaned off of here. It was so covered and just oil caked everywhere, trying to clean it up so we can tell if it does end up having to leak again, or even if it doesn't, at least get some of this crud off of here. So you can see there's orange paint up there that you never would have known was there before. We're just using some mineral spirits and a wire brush, and we'll keep moving. Okay, status update. The new seal is in, pulley is back on, so technically we could be ready to put this front end back together, but when I drove this around before we tore it apart, I noticed there's quite a bit of slop in the front end, and I noticed it a lot when I had the front end jacked up before we separated it, and you could just kind of spin the wheels by hand, that there's a lot of play here. You can kind of see it. There's a lot of play there before anything happens up the line or before the wheels turn. So I've consulted the manual over there, and there is an adjustment that's fairly easy. Under this cover there are shims, and then there's a worm gear in there that runs your steering. So I can take these 4 bolts off and this cover will pop out, and I can try taking a couple of those shims out That'll kind of tighten it up, and we'll see if that helps us at all. So I'm going to pop that off, mess with it a little bit, and then we'll come back. Well, since we have the manual here, I figured I'd actually show you what I'm going to try instead of just badly explaining it. So these are the steps for adjustment, but basically this right here is that cover, and inside here is this worm gear on the shaft, and there's these shims here, and it says you can take out or add shims, and that'll kind of help adjust how that worm gear rides against this. So we're going to try that and see where it gets us. Well, good news, bad news. Good news, I think we found our problem. Bad news, that's going to be about where we stop for the day while we get some parts coming. So this is that worm gear. So this is that cover that we took off, and there was only one shim in there, and so I didn't figure that was it. And then I noticed that look how much play there is. Thinking our bearing in there, and see how that bearing's sitting all sideways. That bearing is shot, so that's letting that worm gear just kind of slop back and forth. So our other gear that it meshes with is up in here, and that's got just a little bit of play in it, but nothing terrible. So I'm thinking all of our issue is right here, so when you turn it, this should want to turn that other gear, but instead it's just sliding itself up and down on this slop, which is why you got to turn the wheel so far to steer. So I'm going to found a bearing. I'm going to order that up. Hopefully that'll be here middle of the week. And then the other thing I noticed when I had this front end off the ground is that there's let's see if we can see it. There's a good bit of play in these bearings on both sides, but I don't want to just order new ones yet. I'm thinking maybe I can just tighten those castle nuts up. Might just be loose, but I'm not going to mess with that till I get this back together. So I'm going to go order that bearing, double check, make sure I found the right one. We'll order that, get that on the way. I also tried to change my oil filter and found out the one that I got from O'Reilly's was the wrong one. So we'll try and return that. I did drain the oil before I propped all this up, just because we were taking that seal out and didn't want it gushing oil everywhere. So we'll try and find a filter, then we can get that on and put fresh oil in it. And if we can get that bearing, we get this front end tightened back up and put on, and then we can start fiddling with these wheels. The weather is getting progressively nicer, and our annual plow day is probably going to be coming up here in the next couple weeks. So really want to get this thing back together and running so we can throw it on the 3-bottom and see how she pulls. But that's going to do it for now until we get some more parts coming. We'll catch you on the next one.